सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Brahma Nirupana, which is also called Atma Nirupana, and Brahma Mimamsa are the two facets of Vedantic teaching. Brahma Nirupana unfolds and ascertains the true nature of Brahma, Brahmaswarupa, which is identical with Atma, the true I in each and every one of us. It also ascertains the means to know Brahman and the result thereof. Brahma Mimamsa analytically establishes the exact and authentic nature of Brahman, the means to gain Brahmadhyana, and the results of such knowledge. It is worth noting that a mumukshu means a spiritual aspirant with steadfast sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the requisite fourfold qualities, can gain Brahmadhyana even without taking to Brahma Mimamsa. However, the Brahmasutra, a book dealing with Brahma Mimamsa, is one of the three canonical texts of Vedanta, as it satisfies the doubting and questioning human mind. In the entire gamut of English Vedantic literature to date, topics of vital importance such as exact nature of aparoksha atmadhyana, brahmadhyana, brahma sakshatkara, moksha, that is liberation, the source and the nature of the Vedas as the Swata Pramana, the modus operandi of Vedanta Pramana, the defectless samagris, prerequisites necessary for Vedanta Pramana to function, an analysis of when a Pramana fails to function, the role and the criterion of correctness of Vedantic prakriyas, means the modes of teaching, are rarely described comprehensively with scriptural authenticity and corroboration. On the contrary, several wrong notions about these are found freely floating around based on mere hearsay. This lacuna prompted me to write a commentary on first four sutras of Brahmasutras, which of course is an outcome of thorough research. Brahmasutra gives a logical structure to Upanishadic teaching. It is a text of Mimamsa, Mimamsa means pujita vicharaha. That means an adored inquiry or investigation. It is not a book of advice, but a text of analytical inquiry. A sutra is a short rule or precept, an aphorism, a formula. It is a short or concise technical sentence framed as a rule that can be easily remembered. A sutra is brief in its composition, has a clear and unambiguous meaning, contains the essence or main points, and at times yields more than one meaning. It is flawless and free from superfluous words. A work or manual containing such aphoristic rules is also called sutra. Literally, the word sutra means a string or a thread. Figuratively speaking, a Brahmasutra strings the flowers of different Vedantic sentences or statements together into a garland demonstrating their harmonization or applicability, which is called samanvaya, while ascertaining Brahma. Upanishads deal with a variety of subjects from a variety of perspectives. Unless thoroughly investigated and ascertained, these appear to have many contradictions. Brahmasutras were composed to resolve such seeming contradictions and highlight the harmony or samanvaya of all Upanishads focused on the one non-dual Brahman, Advaya Brahman. The Brahmasutra deals with the following topics. Number 1, the nature of Brahman. Number 2, the accomplishment of the ultimate goal of life by gaining Brahma Sakshatkara, also called Brahmadhyana, which is the direct knowledge of Brahman, identical with one's own true nature. Number 3, how Brahma Sakshatkara alone and not anything else in the ultimate goal of life. The means to be pursued to gain Brahmadhyana. Fourth one is the means to be pursued to gain Brahmadhyana. And the fifth one is the phala, the result of Brahmadhyana. The Brahmasutra is a scriptural text. It is an inquiry into Brahman, what is called as Brahma Vichara. The Brahmasutra has 4 chapters called adhyayas. Each chapter has 4 sections called padas. Pada. Each section analyzes a specific topic called adhikarana. Chapter 1, Samanvayadhyaya, the chapter on the harmonization or reconciliation, samanvaya, of all Upanishads. Samanvaya is the ascertainment of the purport, means Nirnaya of the teachings of Upanishads. This chapter establishes that the purport or tatparya of all Vedantic, means Upanishadic sentences, is directly or indirectly the non-dual Brahman, Advaya Brahman, which is identical with I, the real I, the true I, and not the notional I in all of us. Thus, all the Upanishads directly or indirectly unfold nothing but the non-dual Brahman, which itself is one with Atma. The first section, Pada, of chapter 1 inquires into Upanishadic sentences called Spashta Brahmalinga Yukta Vakyas. Spashta Brahmalinga Yukta Vakyas, which define a clear characteristic of Brahman. The second section of chapter 1 analyzes Upanishadic sentences called Aspashta Brahmalinga Yukta Vakyas. Aspashta Brahmalinga Yukta Vakyas, which do not define a clear characteristic of Brahman, but refer to meditation or called upasana of upasya Brahma, the Brahma to be meditated upon. The third section of chapter 1 analyzes Upanishadic sentences that do not define a clear characteristic of Brahman, but deal with Jnaya Brahma, the Brahman that needs to be known. The fourth section of chapter 1 inquires into non-specific terms like avyakta, aja, etc. in the Upanishad. It ascertains their exact significance, lest they are mistaken to mean something else. Now comes the chapter 2. Avirodhadhyaya. Avirodhadhyaya. The chapter on consistency or compatibility, avirodha, in Upanishadic teaching. This chapter dispels the contradiction railed by other schools of thought regarding harmonization, or what is called samanvaya, of Upanishadic sentences that imply Advaya Brahma, non-dual Brahma. The first section of chapter 2 nullifies the contradictions, virodha, and the basis of these contradictions as pointed out in Smritis like Sankhya, Yoga, Kanada, though through the help of Vedantic harmonization, Vedanta Samanvaya. The second section of chapter 2 points out the defects in other schools of thought like Sankhya, etc. The first part of section 3 of chapter 2 clears the seeming mutual contradictions between Upanishadic sentences describing the 5 great elements, Panchamahabhutas. The second part of the section clarifies the seeming contradictions between Upanishadic sentences that describe the jiva, the individual entity. Section 4 of chapter 2 resolves seeming contradictions among Upanishadic portions describing the subtle body, Linga Sharira. Chapter 3, called Sadhanadhyaya, the chapter on sadhanas, the means to inquire into the nature of Brahman. The first section of chapter 3, section is Pada, discusses the jiva's travel to return from other lokas, fields of experiences. It also includes a description of vairagya, dispassion. The second section of chapter 3. This ascertains the Mahavakyas Tattvamasi in 2 parts. The word Tvam in its first part and the word Tat in the second part. The third section of chapter 3 deals with Saguna Brahma Vidya and Nirguna Brahma Vidya. The Saguna Brahma Vidya, meditation on Brahman with attributes, is the means to achieve Chittaikagrya. Chittaikagrya means single-pointedness of mind. Chittaikagrya serves as the means to gain the direct knowledge of Nirguna Brahma, the attributeless Brahma, as revealed in the Upanishads. The fourth pada, the fourth section of chapter 3 describes the direct, means the antaranga sadhana, direct antaranga sadhana, and indirect means bahiranga sadhanas of Brahma Vidya. Acts like sacrifice, charity, ascetic practices, etc. are indirect means. The direct means include Shama, that means mastery over the mind, Dhamma, sense control, Nididhyasana, contemplation of one's true nature. Chapter 4 is called Phaladhyaya, the chapter on the results of Saguna and Nirguna Brahma Vidya. The first section of chapter 4, the first pada of chapter 4, describes Brahma Sakshatkara, the direct cognition of Brahman, and the state of Jivan Mukti, liberation while living. It discusses the means consisting of repeated Shravana, that is self-inquiry, Manana, reflection, and Nididhyasana, contemplation. It describes the result of Saguna Brahma Upasana as well. The second pada, second section of chapter 4 discusses the mode of departure of the prana, the vital airs of the jiva who is on the verge of death. The third pada, third section of chapter 4 recommends the northern part, Uttarayana Marga, for Saguna Brahma Upasana after death. The fourth section, fourth pada of chapter 4 describes the results. The Nirguna Brahmavit, knower of Nirguna Brahma, attains Videha Kaivalya, liberation, totally free from the embodiment. The Saguna Brahma Upasaka gains Brahmaloka. In this context, let us consider the nature of moksha. What is meant by mukti or liberation? The following is a concise definition of liberation given by Madhusudana Saraswati in his a small text called Vedanta Kalpalatika. He says, Upanishadaha tu Bhagavata Neelachalanayakena Narayanena Anugrihitaha Niratishaya Ananda Bodharupaha Atma Eva. Niratishaya Ananda Bodharupaha Atma Eva Anadya Vidya Nivritti Upalakshitaha Moksha. Anadya Vidya Nivritti Upalakshitaha Moksha. Iti Achakshate. Avidyayaha cha Sarva Dukkhopadanatvat Tan Nivritya Atyantika Dukkha Nivrittihi Api Upapadyate. This means the followers of Upanishad, blessed by Lord Narayana, declare moksha as Atma itself. The moksha as Atma, the limitless happiness, the self-evident, Saprakasha, Swayam Jyoti, self-evident knowledge principle, itself known directly without a trace of self-ignorance, avidya. The beginningless self-ignorance, avidya, of one's true nature is the root cause of all the sorrows of samsara. Its termination, therefore, duly results in the total cessation of all sorrows. Adi Shankaracharya has defined moksha as follows. Swatmani avasthanam. Swatmani avasthanam. Abidance in one's own true nature. This is from Taittiriya and Kenopanishad Bhashya. Second one is Brahma Bhavaha Moksha. Brahma Bhava means Brahma Swarupa Moksha. Brahma Swarupa is moksha. This is found in Sutra Bhashya. Brahma eva muktavastha. Brahma itself is the state of liberation. From Sutra Bhashya 3.4.52. So Brahma eva muktavastha. Brahma itself is the state of mukti from Sutra Bhashya. Vartikakara Sri Sureshwaracharya, an eminent disciple of Adi Shankaracharya, describes the moksha as the real state of perfect absorption. He calls it as sthanam, abidance or abode. Perfect absorption in the true nature, perfect absorption or sthanam in the true nature of Atma. This we find in Brahmasutra Upanishad, Sambandhavartika. Bhashyakara, while commenting on the first sutra, Athato Brahma Jidnyasa, at one place points out what is the furthest limit of Brahmadhyana. Bhashyakara says, Avagati paryantam jnanam. Avagati paryantam jnanam. It means the jnana, Brahmadhyana, has to culminate in avagati. And avagati means Brahma Sakshatkara. It is direct cognition of Brahman, direct experience of Brahman, direct knowledge of Brahman. Brahma Sakshatkara is defined as Brahma Chinmatra Saratvam. Brahma Chinmatra Saratvam. Chinmatra. Chit, Chaitanya and Chaitanya alone. Free from all superimposed entities, superimposed upadhis, free from that. Chinmasartha means remaining oneself in Brahma or remaining oneself in Brahma, which is Chinmatra. Chaitanya and Chaitanya alone, free from adhyastha upadhis, which itself is Ananda Swarupa, the limitless happiness Paramananda Swarupa, free from entire adhyastha prapancha, free from entire superimposed creation. Again, Bhashyakara highlights the necessity of anubhava, experience, in his bhashya on adhikarana, the second sutra of first chapter, first pada. He says, for the inquiry into Brahman, I will tell you the Sanskrit phrase first. Na dharma jidnyasayam iva shrutyadayaha eva pramanam brahma jidnyasayam. Kintu shrutyadayaha anubhavadayaha cha yatha sambhavam iha pramanam. Now comes the very important statement giving the reason for that. Anubhavavasanatvat bhuta vastu vishayatvat cha brahmadhyanas. Anubhavavasanatvat bhuta vastu vishayatvat cha brahmadhyanas. There are some who argue that Atma-jnana, Brahma-jnana doesn't need anubhava experience because Vedanta is pramana. This is not at all correct. They can refer to this Bhashya. Whether a knowledge of an entity is experiential or non-experiential is not at all determined by pramana, the means of knowledge. Pramana means the means of knowledge, jnana sadhana. Without it, you can't get any knowledge. But whether that knowledge is experiential or non-experiential is not determined by the pramana. It is determined by the entity itself. If the entity to be known is available for experiencing at the time of gaining the knowledge, its experience is indispensable, without which that knowledge can be only indirect knowledge, a piece of information. But where the entity to be known is available for experience at the time of gaining the knowledge, knowledge is, this anubhava is indispensable. There it is not, experience is not possible, so it is an indirect knowledge. But where it is possible because the entity is available, so without that experience of the entity, that knowledge is not complete. It can be complete only by the direct experience of that. Chaitanya Rupa Atma, being Nitya, ever existent principle, there is no time when it cannot be available for experience. I is self-evident. Whether you are in any state of consciousness, that I itself is Chaitanya Atma. So while gaining the knowledge, it is available. It is a Swaprakasha, Swayam Siddha, Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous knowledge principle. So therefore, here let us see what the Bhashyakara says in this Bhashya portion. He says, for the inquiry into Brahman, Shruti and the rest means like some technical terms are there, Lingam, Vakyam, Prakarana, Sthana and Samakhya. Let us not bother about that now. So Shruti and the rest are not only means of knowledge, unlike in the case of Dharma Jidnyasa, means Purvamimamsa. In addition to Shruti, with Lingam, etc., direct experience, aparoksha anubhava, reflection, and nididhyasana, contemplation, in accordance with the Shruti, are also the pramanas as appropriate, as required to the context in question. Because the knowledge of Brahman culminates, anubhava avasana, in direct experience and concerns an already existing entity. The Atma Brahma is already existing entity, unlike the heavens that need to be produced. Now here, anubhava, experience, referred to is to be aware of the pure awareness principle, or what is called pure consciousness principle, Chaitanya, Chit, in its real nature, free from all superimposed or adhyastha entities, in contrast to our 24 by 7 experiences with all upadhis. We do experience Atma 24 by 7, but unfortunately sopadhika. It is with upadhis. And this all features upadhi means samsara, calamitous samsara. But in this anubhava, the anubhava of that Chaitanya, I Atma, is nirupadhika, in contrast to sopadhika, free from upadhi. Just as in vyavahara, in the dealings with the world, I know I am hungry when I am aware of hunger. Is it not? I know I am hungry when I am aware of hunger. If I am busy in some work, so much engrossed that even though hunger is there, I am not aware of it. So I should be aware of the hunger to know that I am hungry. Likewise, I must be aware of Paramananda Swarupa that I am, totally free from sorrow, to know I am Atma, free from sorrowful samsara. This is called Atma Anubhava. Technically, it is called Shodhita Tvam Tvam is from Tattvamasi Mahavakya. Word. Pada means word. Shodhita Tvam Shodhita means upadhi less Tvam you. This is Shodhita Tvam you in Tattvamasi Mahavakya. Such experience is possible in the nirvikalpa state of antakarana. Antakarana, the mind, totally withdrawn from its extrovertedness, which is totally free from vrittis, the thoughts pertaining to the Vishayas, the Jagat, Drishya Jagat. Such a nirvikalpa state, nirvishesha state of antakarana, which of course has its residual samskaras, because we need antakarana. Jnana means in antakarana. Antakarana, but not this antakarana, which is withdrawn from the external preoccupation, the Vishayas. But it has to be there in the residual form, otherwise knowledge is not possible. We need antakaranam buddhi. So that Atma, free from upadhis, in its real nature, gets reflected in such nirvikalpa antakarana. And that is self-experiencing in nature. It is called Atma-anubhava. It is called Brahma-anubhava. So, without this experience, the Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, you are Brahma, will not operate. Even if it told you are Brahma, it will be akin to introducing a person to a schizophrenic whose basic perception of the person being introduced is already distorted. So, anubhavavasanatvat bhutavastu vishayatvacha brahmajnanasya. This phrase highlights the indispensability of Atma-anubhava, Brahma-anubhava in gaining Brahmajnana. Bhashyakara, as we have already seen this, but Bhashyakara advances two reasons in this Bhashya for the need for such an anubhava, etc., in accordance with the Shruti as pramana in Brahmajnana. First reason is Brahmajnanasya anubhavavasanatva. Brahmajnana culminates in experience. Brahmajnana is only indirect, or what is called paroksha jnana, and not direct aparoksha jnana until it culminates in Brahma Sakshatkara, the direct experience or cognition of Brahma. The reason number 2 is Brahmajnanasya bhuta vastu vishayatva, means Brahman is the ever-existent principle and not an entity yet to come into existence like heavens, and hence always available for experience, unlike the entities that are yet to come into existence, that is like results of karma, or those which are paroksha, not available for direct experience. Any paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge, does not require the experience. So is the case with Atma. The indirect knowledge of Atma doesn't need the Atmanubhava, experience of Atma. But any Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana without Atmanubhava is not possible at all. So therefore, to gain liberation, the paroksha jnana, born of Shruti Pramana, has to culminate in sakshatkara, direct experience, because Brahman, the object of Brahma Jnana, is verily the ever-existent, self-evident I, Atma, and its sakshatkara, direct experience is possible. Of course, manana and nididhyasana are indispensable means to Brahma Sakshatkara. So now you are going to get a series of what each Brahmasutra, there are 555, what each of these Brahmasutra means, its relevance, etc. This can give you an bird's eye view of what Brahmasutras are. Perhaps, if you are a more serious mumukshu, you can afterwards listen to the entire teaching of Brahmasutra with Bhashya or study it. Vaiyasika Nyayamala is a very useful text while studying the Brahmasutras. Vaiyasika Nyayamala literally means a garland of topics composed by Vyasa. The Brahmasutra lays down various topics related to the Upanishadic sentences. These sutras are divided into adhikaranas based on the subject matter discussed in them. And adhikarana means a topic or a section or a complete argument pertaining to a topic. Each adhikarana is described in 5 steps. It is said, Vishayaha, Sandehaha, Sangatihi, Purapakshaha, Siddhantaha, Iti, Ekaikam, Adhikaranam, Panchavayavam, Jneyam. It means, first, the Vishaya. Vishaya means the subject matter of the Upanishadic sentence to be explained. Second is Vishaya or Samshaya. Be careful. Earlier is Vishaya, Shanmukasha. And this is Vishaya, Shankarsha. Vishaya or Samshaya means doubt or question with respect to the Upanishadic sentence referred to. Third is Sangati, that means pertinence or relevance or connection between the specific Upanishadic sentence under consideration, the chapters, and the pada means section of the Brahmasutra. Fourth is Purva Paksha, the prima facie argument or a contra view or a contrary proposition on the topic. Fifth and the last is Uttara Paksha or Siddhanta. This consists of the answer or demonstrated conclusion on the topic. The contents of the adhikaranas are extensive indeed. It is difficult to grasp their purport. Considering this difficulty, Sri Bharati Tirtha Muni, the co-author of Vedanta Panchadashi, wrote the text Vaiyasika Nyayamala. A garland means mala of ascertained Upanishadic topics. Nyaya means Nyaya, composed by Vyasa. It gives a topic-wise summary of the entire Brahmasutra based on Shankara Bhashya. In the Vaiyasika Nyayamala, each adhikarana or topic is summarized in 2 verses. The first half of the first verse describes the subject, that is Vishaya, and the doubt, that is Samshaya. The second half of the first verse presents the contrary proposition or Purva Paksha. The second verse proves the doctrine Siddhanta, the connection or the relevance, that is Sangati, is not given in the Vaiyasika Nyayamala, as a discerning person can grasp it easily. I had taught in detail with Shankara Bhashya the entire Brahmasutra text containing 555 sutras comprising 191 topics called adhikarana. While teaching the first 4 sutras called Chatussutri, the Ratnaprabha gloss, Tika, was closely followed, which elucidates the Bhashya, whereby we can understand the Bhashya more clearly. Whereas the glosses Nyayanirnaya by Anandagiri and Bhamati by Vachaspati Mishra were used wherever necessary while teaching Chatussutri. As for the rest of the entire text, the Bhashya was supplemented mainly by Nyayanirnaya, which is very elaborate, and word by word it explains the Bhashya, Nyayanirnaya, and whereas Ratnaprabha and Bhamati were used wherever necessary. Another feature of the teaching was the elaboration of each adhikarana, that is topic, in accordance of Vaiyasika Nyayamala, which gives a clear idea about the content of each topic before its sutras are taught. Before teaching each sutra, it was explained by giving padacheda or separation of words contained therein. Padarthokti means word meaning, with adhyahara or supplementary words or phrases that complete the meaning of the sutra. A pattern followed here in this series on YouTube consists of the explanation of each adhikarana with the Vaiyasika Nyayamala, then the elaboration of sutras contained in that adhikarana with padacheda, etc. The version that is being uploaded now on YouTube will be the edited portion of Vaiyasika Nyayamala along with the explanation of each sutra contained in that adhikarana from my entire teaching of Brahmasutras. This will give a bird's eye view of the entire Brahmasutra text. Those who would like to study the Bhashya in detail can contact us on the email ID sssbvt@gmail.com. I repeat, sssbvt@gmail.com. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat.